figured it out either.
Oh yeah, live stream. Here we go. Do you need to record it again?
No, it's mute.
Oh,
Host. Host needs to record.
And I'm back.
delightful.
My neighbor, they just had a kid today,
Oh,
and so they're
We're live.
whatever. Live?
it's like live,
Yeah.
live.
Okay, I'll tell my story later.
Hello to all you patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 367 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one live podcast in Canada, recorded on October 3rd, 2022.
We need your help to support the Canadian Patriot Podcast. Visit patreon.com/CPP. Become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1 per episode. Show you're not a communist. Buy a CPP t-shirt for just $24.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com homepage and follow the link on the right.
Okay, this section is our favorite. It's What Are We Drinking? As is tradition, we'll start off with Liz.
Okay, so tonight I am drinking Jägermeister.
And a recent thing you've done on the Patriot Challenge?
How are you drinking the Jägermeister?
Like in a little glass by itself.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, in a little special aperitif glass. Anywho, yeah, a little bold, but what have I done recently? It's been a little bit of a shit show, so I think I drank all my water yesterday. Not today.
That's something.
Today was a productive day, but not like a healthy productive day. I sat at a computer for I think 10 hours.
Sounds
So
like
you still got time before you go to bed to you drink all of your water at one go.
I'll be up peeing all night. All night.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I did like a little bit of stretching and some, rolling around on the mats tonight for about half an hour. So
Nice.
there we go. I did some of that. So am I passing the baton? Do I get to choose who's next?
Sure.
Okay, Pierre.
Drinking whiskey and got to drinking my water pretty good lately, and then I got to practice a skill that I haven't used in a while, as some of you have seen from the Discord and everything. I had to rip apart a whole machine to get to a bunch of stuff to whatever, and we got rid of a lot of those machines a few years ago. It was kind of like, trying to remember how to take the whole machine apart to get to everything. So it was kind of nice to get back and get grease dripping in your eyes and hydraulic oil and all that, and take it all apart and put it all back together, and it's all better now.
Yeah, that did not look fun.
No, it was
Makeup.
It was. Yeah, it was fun. I mean, just is what it is, right? But I mean, it was nice just because we've gotten rid of those that style of machine a few years ago. So I mean, I still got a few kicking around and they don't break down that often. So I'm like, it was nice to just get back to it, put some music on by myself in the shop and just go rip it apart, put it back together, send her on her way. So it was good.
Well, that's good.
What
Peter?
about you, Peter?
You better not be.
I'm drinking water.
Good.
Are you on a sober
good.
October challenge?
No, I'm going to hockey. So
Yeah.
I'm drinking water now, and I'll drink beer after hockey.
Okay, just wondering. I didn't know if any of you guys would be on the sober October bandwagon.
I don't know. I could, but it doesn't really bother me. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm drinking water for now. I've been practicing my we'll call them leadership skills lately at work, dealing with some personnel issues. So that's been fun. But drinking a lot of water and I don't know. I had a skill, another thing I was doing, but I forget what it was now. I've been reading
You
a lot.
are exercising and practicing a skill, very shortly,
Yeah.
are you not?
Yes, it's maybe not a useful skill, but it's fun and it's exercising.
Well, if you get in a fight, then
I was gonna
yes,
say,
it's useful.
you could even be practicing your fighting skills. Isn't that what some hockey players do?
They do, yeah. Yeah, there are some guys who get all
There you
into
go.
it, but
There
yeah,
you go.
still doing the working up to the McLaren challenge, or the McLaren workout for the 24 hours for heroes of heroes. Forget
Yep.
which one it is now. Andrew corrected me, but that's okay. He's not here. Yeah, working on that. It sucks, but it's good. Andrew, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking a Recorder League cider. It tastes the absolute opposite of licking a pine tree. And over the weekend, I went for a 10K ruck using the new to me South African Defense Force Pattern 83 ruck and chest rig combination. So tried out if the claims on the internet about not needing a frame for it are justified, and it is. I loaded it the ruck with 40 pounds, and I put an additional 6 pounds in the chest rig, and went out for just under 2 hours, and it was good. I think if you're loading it down with 50 or 60 pounds, and or more after that point, the frame's probably going to be better. But what pack wouldn't be at that level?
Yeah,
but it was good, and I love the pack. It does not get in the way of the chest rig at all. So they made some awesome kit. If you've got to ditch your pack, or even if you don't have time to ditch your pack for whatever reason, you've got complete access to every single pouch. You don't get any weird pressure points or anything like that. The straps double up because it's an X style harness with the chest rig. You don't feel any of it along the back, and the 2 shoulder straps for the chest rig go like perfectly underneath the shoulder straps of the ruck, and it works well together. So you basically got twice the padding there. So it's good. And if you need to ditch the pack really quick, the waist buckle comes off in a split second, but it stays on there secure enough that you're not going to accidentally knock it off. And, then pop off the sternum strap, and then you can just drop the pack and just run, whatever you have to do. So it's awesome. I love it.
nice.
So, but
So
if I'm going to go
6
for a
pounds?
long distance or have a lot more weight than that, I'm going to stick with my my Dutch pack, the low Alpine Serakin. That's an awesome bag for such a cheap price.
Yeah, I love
Nice.
my smaller one. It's great. I have the 60 liter.
Yeah, I grabbed the 120 liter.
Yeah, or maybe mine's 80 then. I think it's 60 plus 20.
Yeah, 60 plus 10 plus 10.
Yeah, exactly.
So
But yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed that pack. But I have to ask, so like I did my 10K with 40 pounds. Did you add the extra 6 just so that when you were above my time that was your excuse? Or?
no, I wanted to get to about 50 pounds, but I ran out of space in
nice.
the pack for the gear that I had.
Oh, cool.
So just I stuffed in all the bulky heavy stuff in there, and then I just ran out of space. So I had all of my sleeping gear, hammock, had 8 liters of water in various containers. I had a level 3A helmet and my massive first aid kit that I use for the range, just in case like 4 people get shot at the same time or something like that. It's a massive I don't know, 8-inch by 8-inch by 3-inch first aid kit or whatever. Like it's huge. So I loaded that all in there, and I didn't have much free space left. So
I went my buddy owns a pharmacy out here, and I went there the other day and loaded up on gauze and sterile bandages and things like that, like the bigger ones. I go to the counter, and the lady just kind of looked at me like, did something happen recently that you need to restock all this?
I have a full collection of like extra stuff. But if you ever run out of compression type bandages for first aid, if you have enough diapers, they work just as good.
I'm not at that age
Makes
yet.
sense. We're past diapers. My youngest last night, he didn't put a pull-up on. He didn't tell us. He just decided that he's night training himself.
Oh,
Dry this morning, not a big deal. We might be completely free of this crap. Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, my oldest just switched over, and we just over the weekend we stopped using pull-ups overnight. He's been good,
Nice.
nothing. So
Nice.
then,
He'll regress, but then he'll get back to it. There's a bit of a process there, at least for us.
yeah, he's really good at waking me up in the middle of the night to tell me he's got to go. So
Oh yeah, mine sleeps way too hard.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sleeps
but
like me.
we'll see how it
wait, you
goes.
wet the bed too, Peter?
No, I just sleep really hard. Like you're not waking me up in the middle of the night. Jess will literally have to kick me off the bed to wake me up.
I mean, if it works.
Then I usually just get mad and roll over and fall back to sleep.
Good comment in the live chat. You're never past diapers. You're just between diaper ages. Yeah. Hopefully, when he gets to that point, like, I can't say that on YouTube.
Yeah,
I guess.
it's true.
I guess. Okay. Feedback. Are we going to go into that?
Sure.
Okay, long pause. So we'd love to hear your feedback about the show. Please visit the Canadian, I better do this right. Please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. A version of the show is available on Stitcher and at iTunes. I'm not going to read you the links because they're long, so figure it out.
Oh.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, we'll start off with the first one from CTV. Freeland peppered with affordability questions as MPs set to swiftly pass the GST boost. So what they're doing is they're increasing the GST credit that you get every year, depending on what your income is, to single Canadians without children get an extra 234. A couple with 2 kids who get up to an extra 467. And seniors on average should get about 225 per year extra.
That's per year though. Like this is not solving any crisis.
Yeah,
This is buying like one
Tango.
grocery run for a
Yeah.
single person with no children.
yeah.
Big.
That's it.
And depending what your income is, you don't even get anything back. So I don't know. Some people it
How
makes
about
absolutely no difference
Instead
whatsoever.
of giving people money back in their GST, we just lower the GST.
But that reduces the control mechanism.
Exactly. I don't see an issue here.
I don't either. That was sarcasm.
Yeah.
Sarcasm.
Yeah.
I
mean-
don't like it either.
Can I not pay GST since I don't get GST?
I mean, okay, so there's got to be somewhere in the catalog of things you can do. Because I know that if you're a business owner, you can petition and get an exemption to not pay EI, since you technically can't ever collect it as long as you're a business owner. So there's got to be something out there that you can be like,
I don't believe I had to actually petition anything to not pay my EI.
you had to produce an exemption, I'm sure. Because if you ever got audited
I don't
for it.
pay.
I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an accountant.
That's just what my accountant had
I've
me
closed
do.
my business down at this point. Well, I can't
Well,
remember.
so
It's been a while since I set up my payroll account and all that stuff. So, which
Yeah, I
I
believe,
don't even
like,
think I
once
needed
you-
to do either.
But if you do decide to start paying EI, so that as a business owner you could possibly maybe, you can't stop paying for EI,
No, I did.
as far as I know.
I did. So I was paying it for a while. And then we
Uh-oh.
realized that because I was an owner in the company, I would never be able to collect it while I owned the company. My accountant
Yeah.
just had me like, I guess it's not like a petition for, you have to justify why you're no longer paying EI. Otherwise you're going to get like audited when you go do your PD7As. So We just had to have like information on hand that we could send to CRA indicating,
Okay.
hey, we owned the business, so
Mhm.
that's a thing. I bunny trailed. I'm sure that there's a GST workaround for you, Pierre. You just need to find a creative accountant to tell you how to do it.
Yeah, like I pay a lot in taxes, but like I don't get any of these tax credits, which means my taxes are gonna go up because they're gonna give more money. Like they're talking,
Don't worry.
how much
It
is this
won't
gonna
help those
cost?
people either.
Like it's
If it makes you
2.6
feel any
billion
better, the
dollars.
people getting the rebates aren't going to be helped either. So
Yeah.
Truth.
So like you're just dipping more. So it's like what, $2.6 billion in tax money to bring this up. Like this is not gonna do anything except for, make my great grandchildren work more of the debt off.
Do you know what's wild? I was talking about this with some other HR people, and we were talking about how, there's like, it's pretty challenging to get people to come and work for you, right? So the wage that people are offering is getting stupid high, like an uneducated or, brand new apprentice to a manufacturing facility, they're offering like 32, 33 bucks an hour in a lot of places. That's a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are going and jumping ship from business to business for a couple of dollars an hour, but they don't realize that your taxes just hit another bracket. So you're paying more
Yeah.
in taxes. Your take home is probably less.
No, it doesn't work like that. It's the way the bracket works. It's only the income that is above that new bracket gets taxed at a higher amount. So you're always going to come home with higher amounts. It takes more to make up that same amount of money.
Yes.
So it's
That
not like
is
when you
the
hit the
truth.
50%
No.
tax bracket, all of a sudden like half of your income is gone.
No.
It's only half of the amount that's above, whatever
Yes.
the 100,000 or
Yeah,
or
because you
80
hit
or whatever it
you
is.
have your exemption first and then it goes up from
Yeah.
there. But in the mind of like people that are jumping ship for jobs for these $1 or $2 hour higher, they're not paying attention to things like, I don't know, I'd rather have a company put pension money in or pay for benefits, something like that for the most part, they're not taxable. So
Yeah, for me, I would be taking every opportunity to jump around and find a better financially positioned company for myself. Either if that's more pay or better benefits, as you said.
yeah, but you look at
because
benefits,
now's
right?
the right time, like to do
I
it.
know. But you look at benefits, don't you?
I
Like you pay
didn't
attention
before
to
because
that.
I never
Right.
needed them before, but now that I've got kids, yeah, it would make a
Huge difference.
huge difference. But
I went from having benefits to not having benefits, and I'm like, oh, I just got like 9 cavities filled over the past year. That's a lot.
yeah.
see, I just don't go to the dentist.
Yeah, I didn't go to the dentist for a long time either.
Dentists are
it turns-
crooks.
Well,
They're
so
all
it
liars.
turns
I don't
out
believe it for a second.
well, it turns out that like your teeth are not like, it's not necessarily because of hygiene, it's also sometimes genetic. So I was like, oh, I have a 50-50 chance. My mom never gets cavities and my dad always gets cavities. So I'm like, I better get this checked out. Turns out I get all the cavities.
A large part of it is diet too.
Oh, for sure it is.
Honey
Like,
is really good for your teeth.
Honey?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
good to know.
Antibacterial.
Oh, cool. So this
Yeah,
podcast
there
is going to
is
be
a,
labeled taxes and honey.
There's a tribe in Africa that basically lives on honey and meat, and like their dental height, their teeth are perfect. They have no issue.
That sounds cool. But they probably also don't eat processed food like we do.
Well, yeah.
Potato chips are the
Sugar.
worst.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
But
you could
also
probably,
delicious.
yeah. I mean, but you can eat like an apple a day and that actually like cleans your teeth sufficiently enough.
So does cheese.
Does it
I
actually?
don't
or is that
believe
just-
you.
Yeah.
Oh.
So actually, Emily Ann has used to get like two
Did
tooth
the
cavities.
fromagerie tell you that?
No, actually, the dentist did. Like we used
Okay.
to bring her in every, I think it was like 4 months to get like cleanings and everything, and like she always got cavities. Like every time we go in, she'd get like two. And they said, yeah, after you eat or whatever, some cheese, because the cheese is a little hard, it'll help clean.
Mm.
But we've also melded a bunch of research, and she actually does coconut oil pull.
Yeah, oil
And she
pulling. I've
has-
done that
yeah.
before. Also
And
antimicrobial.
Yep.
we've gone from like 3 cavities every 3 months to no cavities in 2.5 years.
That's cool.
Also,
So
eating tougher meat,
Eating what?
somewhat tougher meat
Oh,
fairly regularly, like even once a week or so, will help elongate your jaw so you don't have to get your wisdom teeth pulled. That's a big
Oh.
reason why a lot of people have to get their wisdom teeth pulled, is because we only eat soft foods in North America. Everything we eat is soft.
so when you say tougher meat, do you mean like just overcook your meat, or do you mean
No,
like
just eat the-
jerky?
Like
Tougher
instead of turning all of the lesser cuts, let's say, into sausage, eat them as if you would a steak. So like your rounds and things like that aren't as good as your tenderloin, because they're a little bit tougher. It's the tougher part of the cow. Just cook it like a steak anyway, and deal with the fact that it's a little bit tough to chew. And it's better for you. It's good for your jaw. Helps with a lot of things. There's a lot of things tied to your jaw mechanism and how that works.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Back to the article, I got a question.
Wait,
You had a perfect segue. We had a perfect
yeah,
segue.
we did.
Rent support and dental checks would be eviscerated by inflation, according to the conservatives.
There you go.
MPs debated the government's legislation to create an annual $650 dental benefit for low and middle income families for every child under the age of 12. The bill would also give low income renters a one-time payment of $500.
That does
also
nothing.
known as Jagmeet Singh's retirement plan, because if he didn't get this through, then he'd probably have to give up his coalition with the Liberals, and then he'd probably lose his leadership, and then he wouldn't get his retirement in 3 years.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it's only certain provinces. I don't know. But don't kids already have free dental up to a certain age? Or
I thought
find
that
out
was
soon.
a
dental?
provincial thing anyway.
I mean, my daughter's not even 10 and I got to pay out of pocket. So, I mean, what's
Yeah.
the age get? Like before they get teeth, they cover it?
I'm going to the dentist
No, but you know what I
to bring
mean?
up
Like,
teeth.
Right? Like they only cover
That would
until
be
they're
the
2.
time to cover it.
Yeah, right? I mean, so she's 10 or she's turning 10 this year.
No, for
And I
some
mean,
reason. Maybe it's eyes. Like eye checkup.
Eyes, yes. Under 18,
Oh, okay.
that's covered. According to the article,
I got a
Quebec
feeling this
health
probably-
system covers 10 and under for children.
Okay.
and it probably goes with your income as well.
I don't know. I think that the eye coverage is like anybody with kids under that age, right?
Mine aren't old enough to take advantage of it right now. Well, okay, so luckily nothing has happened where I've needed to take
I
advantage
was
of
gonna
it.
say.
Yeah.
mm.
So
I had glasses when I was like in kindergarten. So it's-
But yeah,
You're
so
used to it.
I've had laser surgery and I'm still wearing glasses, man. So
Really?
yeah, my cornea is
That's
way too thin, so they can't ever do like corrective. So as it regresses, you wear glasses again, but it's never as bad. Like I can take my glasses off and still be fine. Whereas before I would just see like blur.
according to one of the comments in the live chat, dental or Spice, the dental hygienist, and she says that basic services are covered for children. So
Okay.
because I
So
have
the government
benefits,
doesn't
they
need
automatically
to do what they're doing.
It's possibly that like it doesn't cover like braces and stuff like that. So in this would, so any additional other than cleanings or something, for example. But I don't know. I don't have the details to this. So
Yeah. Whatever. It's still stupid.
Yeah, it's all like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of not a big fan in general because we're all paying for services that like, I don't know if I guess maybe it's a simplistic way to look at it, but we're not all using the services and I don't want to pay for, I'd rather pay out of pocket for
Same as
services
health
than,
benefits at work.
yeah,
I don't think it's very rare that you get your money's worth out of your benefits at work.
and when you do, companies don't like that.
Exactly.
No. No.
Oh, sorry, we're just we're decreasing our benefits this year. And next year too.
well, it kind of sucks because the insurance companies, they up your rates.
Yeah, exactly. It just
Yeah.
So
businesses just can't afford it anymore.
Yeah.
If there's one or two people who are just using it, I don't want to say taking advantage of it, because if you're given of it, you should, go ahead.
you should use it. Absolutely.
You know.
Because I mean, that's a perk of working at a place. But I
As
know
long as you're
that-
not actually abusing it, where making up symptoms just to get some free
No.
stuff or whatever.
It's
Because
true.
there
Well,
are
you should
people
be
who are like that. but-
making every effort though to use up your full benefits. Like if you get a certain
Yeah,
amount
100%.
of money for massage and things like
Mm-hmm.
that,
Yeah.
like use every single dollar.
Yep,
Otherwise,
Yeah,
it's
because-
really not worth your money to be paying into benefits.
absolutely.
Exactly. I get 1,500 per person in the house for physio and massage therapy a year. Like
Damn.
it used to be 500, but they upped it recently, which I was ecstatic about. So I'm like, yeah, like I'm already paying for it. It already like I pay for those extra benefit packages that allow that. So I mean, like at the end of the day, like yes, my company is paying for some of it, but it's like I'm also paying for it. Like yeah, I'm gonna capitalize on everything I can.
Now, just a question, because this could be a difference from my policy that I've purchased separately, not related to work or anything. But my policy would only cover, for example, half or less of the expense, and then up to a certain amount, like a total fund for a year. So I don't want to take advantage of that and go out and get massages all the time, because I still have to pay for half of it or more every single time.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't have the disposable income to do that, as much as I'd love it. So
The average workplace though has an 80-20 plan.
okay, that's not
So,
too bad then. Mine's like the
yeah.
opposite almost.
Yeah, no, and I mean,
Yeah.
and so all of those are negotiable though, right? So that's what your workplace actually sets up. And they negotiate those contracts either every year or every, term. Maybe that's, 6 months or 18 months or something like that. So, I mean, it's kind of, yeah. What we used to do is we actually paid all of the benefit. A lot of workplaces make you pay a portion of the benefit. We never made anybody pay it. We just added what it would have been we had to list it as a taxable benefit, a portion of it, like the life insurance portion of it had to be added to their T4 as a taxable benefit, but they never actually had to pay for it. So it was like an actual benefit for people. Because if you have to pay your portion of it, like we were paying minimum $250 per employee a month for these benefits. So you could imagine like it wouldn't be really much of a benefit if you have to pay like $60 and you're not using it. But,
See you later, Peter.
bye, Peter.
But yeah, so like I get 1,500 whatever, and most places do direct billing for that. Or I mean, mine's pretty good that like I pay, submit the receipt, and like
Mhm.
if I do any of my benefits before I want to say 10ish, pretty much account money's right back in my account next day, unless it's a Friday. Then I wait till like Monday, Tuesday. But if I go somewhere on a Wednesday, like normally Thursday afternoon, like money's back in my account.
Nice.
Because we're one of the stupid companies that like nobody takes anywhere. Like I have to pay the $500 and they're like, you're getting refunded. I was like, so you just wait for the check. Like I gotta
So-
give them $500 to get the 500 back. I'm like, which is stupid, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah, so fun little hack. I don't know why we're still talking about health benefits, but we are. Fun little hack. If you go to some dentists, they have 2 tiers of pricing. One is for people that have benefits and one is for people that don't. Always just say that you don't have benefits. They'll charge you less and then you just submit your receipts later.
Yeah. Like you go home, scan
Yeah.
it in, send it to your insurance. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a bad option, actually.
Yeah,
I
the only
should
time
switch
I'd
dentists
say
to
I
that.
had insurance is if they were doing the billing directly to the insurance.
Well, that's the thing, is that they don't have to bill directly to the insurance unless you don't want to pay like a $900 bill, right? But for the most part, they just go ahead and do it because most people provide their insurance because dentist is the most expensive. But if you can afford to be like, nah, I don't have insurance, they always give you a good discount and then you take it home and submit it later. And then you just have less.
Yeah.
But anyways, what else is on the docket? Please tell me about more of this housing issue.
I'll
And-
close that article. Yeah, so the government's going to give $500 for rent,
That's
a
wild.
one-time payment, so you can get, I don't know, half of a
You
week.
can buy yourself a rug.
Yeah, or you can
Maybe.
you pay for rent for half of a week or something for your whole year.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
Depends
one
where you
thing that
live.
blows my mind. I don't know where the rest of you are in terms of housing situations, but I can tell you in my area, they keep on talking about affordable housing and they keep on failing to produce. But yet somehow they're eating up all the farmland with new development.
Yeah. Who's buying it?
I don't know, but they're paying farmers a lot of money for them to give up their farming for
Yeah.
like development. It's a lot of money that they're paying these guys.
No. And I mean, depends on if the family doesn't want to keep it going, right?
Yeah, but I mean, most people, like, there's like farmers lined up to rent fields. So yeah, it's not like there's a
Some-
lack of people wanting to farm. It's that I think these developers are offering a lot of money, but then here's my theory. But then these developers have to turn that around into a profit margin. So the housing isn't actually affordable. It's just less, it's more affordable than buying a divided house on your own plot of land.
Well,
Even
they
if
have
it is
also-
postage stamp land, right?
they also buy stuff in advance of when they're actually going to do the builds. They have to get planning through all the cities and towns and stuff to get the proper bylaws changed and the zonings and everything like that, and go through the whole rigmarole. Like there's something going on with my workplace. It's something similar to that. I don't want to go into too many details, but they're planning out like 2050 to have stuff completed by, and developers are coming
Wow.
around now to do it. Like it's going to be completed by that date, but that's almost 30 years away from now. Like,
Yeah.
it's just going to take that long. Not saying it's a good thing, because I don't think getting rid of industry is good either.
Yeah.
A little bit better than getting rid of farming, but
Yeah.
of all the
It's
things
a
you shouldn't get rid of,
balance.
farming should be the one that you don't get rid of.
Well, what a lot of people I think maybe don't realize is that where we're situated in Lower Ontario is hugely fantastic agricultural land. And that's why some of it, like the green belt as well, just for like ecology purposes, is like a protected swath of land so that they can't develop on it. But when you have like all of that farming industry, because that is what it is a farming industry. When you have all that too, you have a lot of people that are gonna move to that area. And also there's a lot more work. So then you have, just this flocking of folks to these areas. It's just a more profitable sector. And it kind of just creates a bit of a bad wheel, and it's pretty unaffordable for, anybody but factory farmers to buy land to keep farming. So, factory farmers, not all of them, but like corporate farms, they're not necessarily totally interested in the preservation of farmland, they're corporate because they are trying to make a profit too, right? So,
And I mean, at the end of the day, too, I mean, it's not gonna get any cheaper.
no.
If you can buy 10 acres now, you're gonna pay a lot less than 10 years from now, the exact same 10 acres.
Yeah. It's wild. Like that's really the only actual asset in commerce right now.
Yeah.
Is land.
They,
So
they're not making any new.
no, they
Right.
aren't. But I mean,
Like-
it's interesting to see. Like I was reading an article the other day where they were talking, and I was talking to an investment banker too, and there, lots of people are chatting about how in the next 6 months, but that the housing market, the bubble is gonna like pop in the next 6 months or so, and that's gonna be a really interesting turnabout.
There's going to be a lot of foreclosures coming up, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's what they were talking about. So that's when I'm gonna
Yep.
go in and buy some houses. That's my plan.
Yeah, as soon as the next couple interest rates hikes hit people's trigger rates on their variable mortgages.
I know people that are already
Ugh.
selling their houses because those variable mortgages, like in 1 week, it went up like what?
percent.
A full percent. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a full percent when you're already kind of stretched as tight as you can be on a mortgage, because that's what a lot of people do, right? When you're stretched already that far, you don't have a percentage, because somebody sold you that a variable rate mortgage is a good idea. And I'm like,
Yeah.
there's a little bit of security in what you know.
Yeah. But so all I've got to say about the next one is we need more than 4,000 Canadian Forces members and families are still waiting for housing. Thank God we're short staffed in the military because nobody's signing up. Imagine the numbers.
Why do you think it is that nobody's signing up? Is it just because we have zero patriotic, joie de vivre?
Because most people that apply don't fit the criteria.
Yeah,
They're
they
looking
changed the
for.
criteria to
Like nothing.
conveniently cut out their biggest group of recruits for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
You mean people that aren't afraid of firearms and getting dirty?
It's not even the fact of being afraid of it or not, just the people that are willing to sign up to join the military were of a certain group of, white males. And so now so the Canadian military looks very racist because most of the participants are white males. So they started recruiting people and pretty much told white people not to bother applying. But then nobody else applied as well. So now they're like, oh no, now we're short, but we're still not taking the people that are actually willing to go in, apply, go through all the tests and this, that, be people that would be just as good doing the job as anybody else, but because they fit a certain criteria, we told them that they should not apply.
Why would like immigrants or like POCs ever go for working in the military when there's so many government, like federally regulated jobs that are actively seeking diversity and equity hires?
Free education, free healthcare.
Yeah, but I mean, you pretty much get that in almost every federally regulated job, and you don't have to like be in the military.
I would also say free housing, but apparently there's over 4,000 people waiting. So.
Again, this just to clarify a little bit more, as far as I'm aware, I've never been in the military, so I'm not 100% sure of the details, but this is for their housing. So if you've got a family and you want to live off base, I believe, or I'm not sure of the details, but basically if you're bringing your family in to move with you, they have housing available for you and they're running out of that. So if you're living in the barracks, you've got no problem. They've got space for you. They've got more than enough space for you right now. But if you want to bring your family in there, you got no room.
Yeah, I grew up on a few few bases, Ottawa, Kingston, and all that, because my dad was military. And it's just, cookie cutter homes on the base, and like, one or both parents in that house are military. And it's at a discounted rates. Some of the people, when they have housing available, like, 3 people that are all together will rent it, and, a 3-bedroom house, and you get it at a very discounted rate compared to what the potential of markets are around that area. So yeah, it's nice, government says, hey, go move to Newfoundland, and you're bringing your family. They've kind of got some stuff put aside for people that are doing that. So
Well, the
it's good, but
military,
yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, does the military even pay that good?
Yes.
No, if you factor in the
Well-
fact that you're working 24/7, no.
Okay.
Yeah, so it depends. I mean, like, my dad retired from the military a long time ago. But
Sure.
my dad was military for 22 years.
He probably
Um,
that would have been pretty close to a full pension though.
Yeah.
Because
Like,
is
yeah,
it 25 years that you have to work for a full pension?
I think it's 20.
Okay, maybe 20. Maybe 20. That
Yeah,
makes
it might be
sense.
20, but yeah, he was 21, 22 years in. I mean, my mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad worked military, and I mean, we moved everywhere.
That was also a
stupidly
different
rich.
time. So
Yeah,
stay at home, like single parent or single income families was
Yeah.
very common in our parents' age because
It was
I think-
affordable.
well, affordable, yes, but I also think that the expectation of how you live was vastly different. Like now,
what do you mean?
okay, so now they're saying, I don't know if you've heard of like what's called living wage studies. So they've done, United Way has kind of spearheaded this and things like that. And they've done these studies and they publish them. So then, the public read them and think that they're owed this. But they've done these studies that say, like, based on these criteria, a living wage is this. So then employers can say, oh, hey, I'm a living wage employer because I pay all of my employees this amount or above. But what factors in, and I think right now, the living wage is set at close to $18 an hour. Okay, so I'm not necessarily disagreeing that, like the cost of living is pretty high, but some of the factors that they put into this equation is a little excessive. Like, it includes things like extracurricular activities, 2 vehicles, spending money, things like that. And again, I'm not saying that those aren't good things to have, but I would not equate those in requirements to live. I come from a family of people that are heavily resourceful and have lived below the poverty line. Maybe not, maybe it wasn't all joy and bliss, but,
Turn the power off on Sundays or whatever day that was.
yeah. But also, like, I even grew up where we didn't have, like, if we wanted to have a cell phone, we had to go out and get a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we wanted to go somewhere, we were like learning how to fix a 10-speed bicycle, like
Yep.
that was just the reality of it. And that's not the case anymore. Right. So I think it's just, like there's got to be I don't know.
And just back to the living wage, is that $18 US or is that Canadian?
No, this
Because
is Canadian. This is even local to my area.
I don't see how that's even affordable.
Yeah, no,
Not
I
really.
don't.
So that was all put out. A lot of that stuff was put out before the COVID inflation, though.
Okay.
So
Yeah, but even
I
if
doubt-
you want to talk right before COVID, I mean, 18 would.
So I don't necessarily disagree with that. You've got the expectation is that there's 2 parents working in that home. Okay. And that the expectation is that it's like a house, there's 2 vehicles. So it was more the criteria that I was pointing out, because I think that the figure, to actually put a figure down, is a little damaging, because that's like telling somebody who's serving you soft serve ice cream at a local drive-in that they should be getting paid $18 an hour to do that.
Yeah.
That's not okay, like, because that place probably doesn't make that kind of money to do that, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, if you're talking about a factory worker who's got responsibilities at the workplace and has, certain expectations above and beyond of them, that's probably pretty low. But, an unskilled job where you don't like have credentials and you just have somebody coming in, like, it's going to be different for each workplace. And the criteria though is what's excessive, in my opinion.
And yeah, I really want to see how much they paid for rent. They can have 2 vehicles on $18.
I'm gonna see if I can find
Rent.
it.
Yeah, I'd just be interested, right? Like if they actually
Hmm.
did a breakdown, just being like, what's their grocery bill? Was it all just like, a bag of frozen fruit at the no name store, or, like quality of food, was it all,
So
97
this is
bags
actually
of
really
chips?
interesting. So I'll send you the link here and I'll put
Yeah,
it
yeah.
in the chat. But so I think the last one that they actually did based on this regional map is November 2021. And we're looking at places like a range from, so Simcoe County is like Barrie, Peel region is near Toronto. Peel region is $19.80 an hour. That is their living wage.
That I'm surprised. Housing
Yeah,
prices
like
were
I'm
there
very
insane.
surprised
Right?
because I make more than that and everything. Like, yeah, no, so
Yeah, but you're a
I
skilled
want-
trade. You're a skilled trade.
it doesn't matter. My living
No,
wage,
I know that. I know that, but
right?
you comparing it to your wage though, that's part of the challenge, right? You should be paid higher. This is the assumption that the person has no,
Yeah, I'm not
skill,
but I want to see
maybe?
their criteria for saying
Yeah,
that, okay,
I'm
this is a
trying
living
to.
wage. Like I don't go on lavish vacations, I don't go and eat supper every night out at a restaurant and all that. So I'm just,
Yeah,
I get by, I can put a little bit aside here and there, and then something breaks and you use up all of that, and then you're back at square one. But I mean, yes, I do a skilled trade, so I get, I guess quite a bit more than this. And I'm like, so I just want to see what their costs are like, okay, what did they do for groceries, right? Like we do spend quite a bit on groceries. We always make sure we buy good quality meat. There's always fresh fruits and veggies,
mhm.
always good snacks in the house, so I mean, my grocery bill could be for 2 weeks, 300, and, anywhere from 250 to 350,
Yeah.
depending what we want to get. But I mean, we're 3 people, like my daughter, my wife, and I.
Yeah,
Where some people are just like, no, that's 2 months worth of groceries for me. Right. So
absolutely.
that's where I want to see, like, what's the
So
cost that they say
it's
for certain
saying
things.
here, so some that I've seen, okay, so I've seen actually like diagrams with expected dollar values, but this one specifically, the calculation is annual family expenses equal income from employment, income from government minus taxes. Okay. The living wage includes food, clothing, shelter, childcare, transportation, medical expenses, recreation, and a modest vacation. It does not include retirement savings, debt repayment, home ownership, saving for a child's education, anything other than the smallish cushion for emergencies or hard times. So I'm not sure, maybe they're taking median statistics and saying like,
Yeah, like I still want to see the math. Like this makes no sense. But
it
But
does
still,
make no
like-
sense, but like,
yeah,
I don't know. I think that we're definitely moving more into like this idea of, a social welfare, because some of that stuff also ties in, like the average person that's touting, living wage and stuff like that is also talking about universal basic income, things like that. But
and it's always funny that like we're gonna keep raising what minimum wage costs, or
Yeah.
sorry, what the paying minimum wage is, and I'm like, but that for every dollar, or
it's
let's say
all
every
it's
50
doing
cents,
is
you-
cushioning inflation though.
exactly right. Like how much did cucumbers cost before minimum wage went up to $15?
I'm pretty sure, I think I just paid like almost $4 for like some cucumbers the other day. They were 99 cents.
Yeah.
I was like,
Right.
this seems like a
So,
weird
I mean,
thing.
The
But
more
on
and
the
more you
note,
want to make every hour, like the more and more like those costs all get associated. The person that owns the grocery store, well, I gotta pay 20 employees $20 extra every hour on top of everything else. Like that cost is just getting kicked back to everybody coming in. Like all the products gonna go up because they need a certain profit. Like, gosh, it's just ridiculous.
yeah, but
my
it's
grocery store dropped. They got rid of their overnight shift. They were 24/7, and then they shut down at 10 now. Open up at
Yep.
8 or something.
there's also a lot of places, like restaurants are closed now 2 days a week. Normally they just take like Mondays off. but a lot of
Yep.
them are closing down on Monday, Tuesday because they also can't get staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But speaking of kicking people out, let's talk about the RCMP getting kicked out of provinces or kicked off the gun ban heist.
Yeah. So Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba have now all told the RCMP to basically fuck off.
I love that.
Sorry for the explicit. I don't care. And not enforce the gun bans and not go through with the confiscations, which is awesome. Awesome. I don't think we're going to see any more provinces than that.
No.
Yeah, because what did you
But-
say? It was Alberta and Saskatchewan
And Manitoba.
In
and
Manitoba.
Manitoba. That's not
Yeah.
shocking. That
No.
is not
No.
surprising.
But so I think it was the Alberta one of these articles. I don't remember which one that, I mean, we talked about it in the chat previously and everything. There was one that said that they don't want to use provincial funds for this buyback. They said if the government of Canada wants this buyback program and the RCMP
Yes.
to enforce it in these places, they said, no problem. You're not using any funds
Mhm.
because the provinces pay for the RCMP to be there and be the provincial police
Yes.
force or whatever. So they said, you can do all this, but government of Canada is paying, 100% of
Yeah.
the funds. So like, it's going to cost 2 million, 2 billion, whatever it is. Like none of Alberta, I believe it was Alberta for this one. None of the Alberta tax money, provincial wise, that pays for this service is going to be implemented for that. Like, which I mean, at the end of the day, it just means taxes going up if the government wants to. But but yeah, good on them to stand together and just be like, this is all a crock of shit.
Yeah, the one article that I was reading was saying that they're like, no, you're here to police, not confiscate guns.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah.
Yep.
It's interesting, and it kind of brought me a little bit of hope because I know that we've kind of all been, well, some of us anyway, I don't know, definitely me, has been waiting for this other shoe to drop. We've
Yeah.
kind of, everybody's like, oh, well, COVID's over and all these restrictions and lockdowns are over. And, we've kind of been sitting on it all summer thinking like, oh, are we going to lock down in the fall again? But, I've seen quite a bit of information about, from the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, the lawsuits that are either being dropped or won, or the ones that are against the federal government, or you see, the ArriveCan app becoming optional now, which who's going to opt into that motherfucker? But
The
aside
same
from
people
that,
that are still walking around with masks.
Yeah.
yeah, also true. And the ones that
Yeah.
are excited that the bivalent, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Bivalent vaccine.
Benevolent.
No, it's bivalent. It's called bivalent. It's
Oh,
the
sorry.
vaccine for the
Different thing.
Omicron. They're like stoked to get it. They're probably the same ones, but we're just seeing like a lot of pushback from this. And I don't know, I'm not that old, but in my lifetime, I don't think I've seen this kind of pushback before. So it's kind of good to see.
Yeah.
Giving me
It is
hope
a
that
little
the
bit.
government is not totally in control. I mean, C11 is a whole other thing, but
Yeah, the government's not in control once you tell it's not in control. So
yeah.
as soon as people start fighting, not fighting, but as soon as people start pushing back,
Mhm.
then they realize that like, okay, there's more of us than there are of them.
Well,
What can they can't come through, knock down everyone's doors and come take their ARs. They can't. They don't have the manpower for it. And that's why the 3 provinces have stood up and fought against this. And seeing the Liberal for like the reaction to this is fucking great. Like
I know. What was that? Was it the former mayor of Toronto that was like on the Twitter
yeah,
about
it's
this?
like you're welcoming guys to own machine guns. It's like
I was like, that's not what that means. It's literally
Yeah.
like, this is what people don't get. And actually, I think that this is a really interesting topic that always surprises me. So I was having lunch the other day with a couple of friends of mine that, one works for like a big seed company and one works in healthcare. It did not cross their mind because they're like, oh, hey, are you going to fly to Alberta to visit your sister? And I was like, well, yeah, we've been driving for the past, practically year. And she's like, why what? I was like, well, up until June, if you're not vaccinated, you can't get on a plane. You couldn't get on a plane, train, or federally regulated boat. And they're like, we didn't know that. And it's like, listen, this is like, it's no different than this gun ban thing. It's not like they're allowing us to have assault rifles. They are just allowing us to have the firearms we already have and not take them away. That's the difference.
All they have to do is say that one talking point. Oh, they're letting them get the machine guns and the assault rifles. They don't even have to be true. All of a sudden, they get the whole anti-gun side like with them and saying the same points. They don't care if it's right. Only we care if it's right.
Yeah, because they'll look into it and realize that we're wrong, and then that'll paint us to be even worse.
Yeah, but at some point, I think that people, like, folks are really challenged to actually have tough conversations with other people, because if you're having tough conversations on the other side of the argument, number one, you're no longer in an echo chamber. So you're challenging yourself. And a lot of people don't like getting challenged because their ego is like, I don't want to be wrong. And so they're like, I can't listen to anything. So if I screech loud enough, you know, like, I'm going to be the right one, the loudest one in the room, as long as I'm the loudest one in the room and talk over everybody and control things and never expand my mind. Yeah. And I'm like, I have a couple of friends that I have to say, like, you know, people have asked us why we're friends. And I'm like, because we can talk to each other. Yeah. We're fundamentally on different sides of the conversation on many things, but we challenge each other and we're never trying to convince each other. We're just like, oh, hey, never thought of it that way. Oh, hey, you know, people aren't like that. They think that because you own a gun, you're going to go out and shoot somebody. It's like, that's not how that works at all. But what else we got going on here, boys? Topics.
We can jump into C11. You brought it up earlier.
I did. C11. It kind of irks me. I put here a couple of links because one of these is the CMPA, which is like a super lefty kind of site. They're like an organization that is ridiculous, but they brought up an interesting point. And this is, so for those that don't know, C11 is just the amendments to the Broadcasting Act. The implications that are cited is that podcasts like this one could be taken off the air because there's going to be such serious like censorship that everything is kind of filtered through, I'm assuming, bots that are just looking for crazy words and gonna ban you from shit. But I don't know. But this CMPA thing, pretty much, they're like, Canada's outdated broadcasting laws are hurting Canadian producers, broadcasters, and stories. So they're pretty much like telling, like, the one side of the narrative is this is going to help Canadians. And the other side of the narrative is like, hey, this is going to censor Canadians.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting.
I love how they're using the argument of like, oh, all these other big companies are really hurting the Canadian media content creation. And meanwhile, most of the Canadian media content creation is utter garbage.
Trash.
Like it gets forced onto everything. That's why you have to listen to it or watch it or whatever. Like,
yeah, there
hasn't been much Canadian media that most people are, you know, happy and proud of to see and like, oh, this is awesome. Like, so, okay. This is trash. Thank you for forcing me to watch this or whatever. Like,
yeah, it is. And like, I think that the reason, and maybe they're tracking data from specifically, I would say that probably in Canada, most of our media comes from the States outside of, you know, like mainstream news casting. But I would say that most of that is because they just have better stuff. Like, there's not the censorship in the States for the most part. So you can like actually listen to stuff. Like in Canada, it's pretty wild to see how like even people that are kind of middle of the road political commentators, or, you know, they just have like alternative perspectives, how they're getting censored like mad. Like it's because, okay, so who is that group that Diagonal?
Diagonal or something like I don't know the details of this.
But all I know is that they're like, the guy got arrested.
Yeah, going off the one article I saw about it, it wasn't so much of the government coming by like, oh, we're just going to rescue you because you're
No,
a
there was a
political
warrant.
dissident. Like he was pointing firearms and he fucked around and he found out, at least in my opinion. Like I don't know the full details of the story, but at least going off that with the charges he got, it makes sense.
Right. But I mean, okay, so before that though, he was like, I've not really followed this guy, I have no interest to, but before that, he was more just like active on social media and like the media and things like that. You know, of course he'd show up to stuff, but until he got into this firearms thing, and there's a lot of them that were kind of essentially like branded bad in Canada. Whereas like, so of course we don't get access to that information. So of course we're going to go out of country to get, you know, I don't know, entertainment, information, whatever you want to call it. Right. So. Oh, there we go.
Good old.
So
We're having trouble in the chats.
Yeah.
That's all right. Okay. Anyways, anybody else's thoughts on C11? I could
Not
talk
gonna
all
be
night,
good.
guys.
Not going to be good. So that'd be the end of this podcast. It'll be the end of our groups. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the end of the other CPP podcast.
Yeah.
You know, anything that
They're less political
slightly,
though, right? They're just like more prepper.
they still bring it.
Yeah.
Oh, and then of course,
That's
look
true.
at Facebook. You know, canning is extreme prepism or whatever they started censoring people's posts
Mhm.
for. And like,
Yeah, you can do this. You
I
can do
think-
this. Like,
I think one
is your
thing
neighbor
that'll-
too prepared?
yeah,
Yeah,
You know,
I think
report
the
them.
one thing that's actually good about that is that people that are prepping are a little loose in like sharing that they have all these resources. I'm like, are you trying to just be cool on social media, or should you maybe not tell people that you have a few $1,000s worth of resources in your basement?
Maybe not take a giant picture of your
Yeah.
pantry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
okay. Tell all the gun owners that not to take pictures of their whole, gun family or gun library or whatever and show it off because
I don't
for extra
actually-
reasons on why you shouldn't do that.
That's also, but
Yeah.
that's also true as well. Like,
yeah,
I think
that's why I bring it
people-
up because everyone
Yeah.
does it when they first get into it. It's oh, look at my collection, look what I've got. It's like, okay, government loves the list of
Mhm.
firearms that you've got now, and
Yeah.
everyone else knows that. Oh, hey, you're a gun owner, and let's just wait for
Yeah.
you to post that you're going on vacation.
Well, and that's
Yeah.
an interesting thing too, is that it kind of, this C11 thing, I hope people become aware of it, and just like, even if it doesn't directly affect you right now, I hope people realize the implications of what it could do, because we're a pretty apathetic society. Like, think about the things that we post over the last, okay, so Facebook started 15 years ago, maybe. So
I think
we're just going to say 15 years. So over the past 15 years, like the amount of stuff that you put on social media that is ultra personal,
Oh, yeah.
people are super comfortable with it, right? So
Yeah.
it's like things that you shouldn't be, like security. I've posted in the past when I'm on vacation, okay, and I'm like, well, that's kind of dumb because you've just alerted like almost 1,000 people
Yeah.
that you're not at home. That you're not at home. Like,
Yeah, I'm so glad I ditched all my social media. Like, just obviously everything I put out there is out there forever. I
Sure.
can just hope that it gets deleted. And I tried to obfuscate some of my posts, go back and edit it to say something else, wait a while for like all their servers to internally back up, and then
Yeah.
start deleting my posts to try and get rid of it. But it's all out there. Like,
It
I don't
is.
know how long they can store it for. I'm gonna just assume it's out there
forever.
forever.
Yeah.
And so even a stupid thing I said as like a teenager or
Yeah.
preteen or whatever,
Well, we see
it's
that.
going to come back out, and it's going to screw me over. And no, I'm out
mean,
of this.
We kind of see that happening though, where, like stuff that people said 10 years ago is coming back up to haunt them. And
Yeah, like they're getting fired.
yeah. And
like,
I really think that folks need to realize that C11, like, okay, so that's broadcasting. So I guess what's the definition of broadcasting based on that act? I don't know. I haven't actually read the act, but I could assume that since there's like proprietary rights to most streaming services, that most of those streaming services would be considered broadcasting of sorts, right? So anytime also, like, you want to talk about censorship, most people aren't going to be able to, Canadian artists, whatever, aren't going to be able to put their work on places like Spotify or YouTube or things like that if it's any kind of controversial anything. So I don't know. I just think it's a slippery slope and we're already half down it. So, but
Yeah.
well,
Throw
let's
back
talk
to our
about,
previous episodes about 1984.
that's exactly it. And people think that they're going to stand up to it. Let me tell you how many people I no longer believe when they say that. When they're like,
think
oh,
if-
well, I don't agree with that. And I was like, listen, bro, you literally didn't stand up for your neighbor who wasn't allowed to go into the same restaurant as you this year.
And
So,
how many, Google or Alexa or, Siri speakers and stuff and cameras do you have set up in your house right now to make everything easier? Like, you're inviting it all. It's
I know. I hate those commie cunts. Fuck, I hate those Alexas. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're nice when you're just like, hey, play music. But at the same time, like, I fucking hate those things. I really do.
don't be lazy. Make yourself better. Get up. Put your own music on.
Yeah. I don't disagree.
It's true. Anyways, let's talk about Quebec.
Yeah, and it's not Putin related.
It's not what related?
Putin.
Putin?
Oh, you can't say that. That's banned. That's a banned word.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, do you know what's funny? Is that I actually don't say poutine, like Putin. We all just, like, a bunch of us are goons and we call it Putin. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
We've been saying it like that for a long time though.
Yeah, but there was a restaurant in Quebec that actually stopped serving it when this whole Ukraine-Russia thing, because they were like, it sounds too much like Putin, that we're not going to sell poutine anymore. They're just like, you guys are idiots. But so this article is called "The Charter May Quickly Become Less Relevant."
I didn't think
The
it could
charter
become
writes-
less relevant than the current state of toilet paper.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's kind of clickbait, because I don't agree that the charter has any relevance at all. But with the election currently going on in Quebec, what is it? The CAQ is dominating the polls. Predicted that they're gonna 42%, and if they get through, François Legault and all them, they will have been pushing, which bill is it? Bill 21 and 96 in Quebec, which is the controversial one, the secular law. So any person, yes, so that prohibits any public servant of wearing any religious symbols on the job.
I bet you those religious symbols actually only apply to Christian symbols. But if you were to wear any kind of Sikh, Hindu, Buddhist, Islamic, you'd be allowed to.
No.
Did I just say that on TV?
No,
That's the
we're
thing.
not on TV.
I know we're not. I was like, did I just say that on a broadcasting media stream?
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? You wouldn't be allowed to wear anything. Does not matter part of your religion. And that's
That's
big
kind of
controversy.
weird though. I mean, like,
No, so you would not be allowed to wear a cross that's visible just as much as you shouldn't be wearing
turban
any-
for Sikhs. How's that going to
exactly.
work?
Well, it's a religious.
Wouldn't
it's
they?
for religion? No.
I know, but wouldn't they? So part of me is like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Another part of me is like, why are we adding more laws? Why aren't we just taking away laws? You know what I
So-
mean? Because I think it's like, as much as I think that there's a certain amount of conformity that needs to occur to eliminate some of this like wokest, like special
Yeah.
treatment and, you know, equity stuff, there is kind of a thing. I don't really care. Like, I don't have, as a Christian, I don't have any like symbols specifically that I'm like, oh, I have to wear this. It's a point of my faith. Like,
Yeah.
you know, but what
But
about
if you
Sikhs?
did, no, but
Yeah.
if you did, you cannot wear it.
I
being
think
a
that's a
public
touchy
servant.
one.
Well, 100% it is, right? And that's the big controversy. So they're curious if this is going to go through, right? Because the charter writes, doesn't it say at some point that you have the
Freedom
what-
of
what's it called?
religion.
Freedom
One
of
sec.
religion, yes.
Let me
Yeah.
grab my toilet paper.
Oh, there you
Yeah,
go.
so yeah, right. So I'm pretty sure it says the freedom of religion or whatever.
I'll be
So they're
really
trying-
impressed if you read it out the lines we need to know in French, though, Andrew.
Oh
Yeah.
no, you don't want to hear that. I haven't done French since
kind of
ninth
do.
grade.
I kind of do.
If you hold it up
French
to the
lessons
screen, I
with
might be able to-
Pierre.
Yeah, if you hold it up, I might be
Yeah.
able to read it. But right, so they're saying that if this does go through, so I don't agree with it. I see what they're doing. They're trying to separate state from church, no matter which. church.
Yeah. Yeah,
Which
absolutely.
I-
That's what I mean. Like, part of me is like super comfortable with the idea, but another part of me is like, is this creating more of an issue because you're imposing weird restrictions?
Yeah, because one of the big things is like, so public teachers of kindergarten is affected by this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So public servants of any kind, like, so that is everything down to your, like your administrative staff working at your local community center.
Yeah.
That's a government run facility. That's a provincial
Yeah, and I think
provincially
this only
regulated
falls
facility.
under for provincial law, so not federal buildings out there. Like you do have border security out there and whatever. And those, so I
Correct.
don't
This
think
is a
that falls
provincial.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it would only
wouldn't.
fall under anything provincial. But I mean, I don't know if any of you guys have dealt with any, provincial building in that place that they call a country, and it's brutal. Like you walk into a federal building there. And I mean, good luck trying to get anybody to talk to you in English.
Yeah,
That's
it's
another
true.
big thing they're pushing. And I'm like, like this is technically like English is my second language, but like I'm like, this is a federal building. Like federal law says
need
it's
to
French and
be-
English. Like, yeah, you need to be bilingual. I'm like, you guys come over here in Ontario and demand to be spoken in French. And if not, like, we get pinned to the wall and this, that. But I'm like, we go over there and oh well, don't come and visit us then. Right? Like it's very, very harsh. So
Do you want to know something that's fun? You know how you just mentioned before the language thing, that you don't think it would apply to like the federal buildings, like the CBSA and stuff like that are there. They are two very separate entities. And I didn't think about it too much until somebody told me that the actual vaccine mandate was not mandated by the province. So provincial workers did not have to get vaccinated to keep their jobs. That was like city-based. That was not a provincial mandate, only federal.
there you go.
Isn't that weird? I mean, good for them, but
Yeah, but so I mean, I'm kind of curious how it sees because like I see the point behind what they're trying to do, separate church and state and everything. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, this is a very,
I
very
think it's
slippery
gonna-
slope.
yeah, I think it's going to actually create more problems. And I mean, in the chats, it's kind of coming up as like a split. I think, people on either side of that too.
Yeah.
And if you look back in history, there's always conflict as to how that turns out. But I think the difference between separating church and state is that there's not a figurehead like a church. Oh, I better not hold my hand like that. Somebody's going to think I'm got to stop doing anything with my hands because otherwise it's a radical symbol somewhere. But okay, so there's not like a figurehead church that is dictating all the rules and a figurehead government that's dictating all the rules. There's just people's personal beliefs and a figurehead government that is dictating all the rules. And now the government is actually trying to dictate all of the people's religious affiliations. And I think that there does have to be a line, right?
So they're not trying to say you can't.
No, they're just saying you
Be-
can't work here if
No.
you decide to wear.
Yeah. So separate, you can come into work, this is your uniform. And a conversation.
Yeah, but okay, but no. Okay, but here's the thing. Okay, so most of these places don't actually have a uniform policy aside from like
Wear
police
decent
forces
looking
for sure,
clothes.
absolutely. Or like you have a work shirt that you're provided with,
Yeah.
or like, oh, hey, you have to wear like closed-toed shoes or like black this, black that, whatever. Aside from policing forces or military of any kind, right? Aside from that, there isn't really a dress code. So how would wearing a cross, a hijab, a turban, how would that be anybody's business?
I'm not willing to answer this while we're recording.
It's a controversial topic and you don't have to answer it, but I guess it's just
No,
kind of one of
but
those things that like
Yeah.
I get it, but it's also it's dangerous to start going into that realm.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm the same way. I
It's-
see both sides of the argument.
Yeah.
One side you got a uniform, and you follow it. On the other hand, like it's clear. Why does it matter what someone else's religion is? Let
Yeah.
them do what they want. Like as long as they're
Yep.
not harming anyone doing it, and like 99.9% of the people aren't.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So yeah,
Like it's going to be really interesting too, because I think that, you know, we look at like metro centers like Montreal, Laval, and like Quebec City are vastly liberal. So it's going to be very interesting to find out how that translates. Like that's going to be a huge problem. Well, I mean,
Because-
it's not going to be a problem for Ontario, but it's going to be interesting to watch those
Not yet.
fireworks.
For now.
yeah, until well, maybe a bit more of a problem. I live really close to the
Yeah.
border
Yeah.
compared to you guys, that they'll just start piling over here and then they'll end up with more idiots.
I do agree that that's what's going to end up happening. I mean, you kind of
Yeah.
see that throughout history, and they put it under the guise of like religious persecution, right? Because if
Yep.
they can't stop something like that from happening, they're just going to leave and go elsewhere. And I mean,
Ooh. That does
Yeah.
sound appetizing.
Well, as we found out, turns out your charter doesn't matter unless you're employed by the federal government, according to all the COVID laws and everything that they put through. So
oh, good.
doesn't matter anyways. They're not violating charter rights because you have no charter rights unless you're working for the government. So who
Federal
What
government. right?
happens
Yeah.
if you pay for the government? Does that not make me their boss?
if only.
I mean, you can try.
Just vote
Let me know how that works.
Just vote them out.
Yeah, but more than 30% of people have to show up.
Yeah.
And I even like proactively put my trust in, pre-voting when I had to. Come on, people.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna shut this one down. Book club for this month is going to be The Moon is a Harsh Mistress by Robert Heinlein. And then in November, it will be A Soldier First by Rick Hillier. I don't know how long these books are. Listen to the other podcast because I'm not usually on here. I mean, I'm always on here. I've always been the host of CPP. We're on Discord. That's where you can find me all the time. Eventually, we might make a swap over to another service. Give you details later on when that goes. Again, all related to censorship. Nothing has happened, so continue joining Discord and more
You
details will be
do
given
have
there.
a pregame. You should amp up your pregame, your Discord
Yeah.
pregame.
Yeah. So get used to it, and because the new one we're going to be possibly switching to in the future is pretty much functionally identical. So, Liz, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on my Instagram account at Basement Death Squad. That's also Facebook, That's my gym name. So, well, my gym accounts. So, yeah, check me out there.
Pierre?
Off the wall customizing at Gmail, Pickety Talk, Instagram, all that fun stuff. If you
Yeah.
need anything.
If you've been listening this long, you deserve a discount code on ragnaroktactical.ca. You enter code Patriot for 10% off, or if you want to help out better Andrew, actually doesn't get any help, you can use Andrew 10 for the same discount. There's no kickbacks or anything like that. Just shows where it came from. What's left to do? I think that's it. Actually, apologies to Rod. Sorry, there was a little bit of a schedule mix-up. So I know you really wanted to be on. Things just happen, unfortunate. You know, something comes up as always, and just have to try. And we'll see you on next week. Okay. So remember, you are a small fringe minority with unacceptable views.